body and the blood.
Okay, after that part before stewardship, we read a story. There were two guys. Anybody remember?
No.
They were walking someplace. Where were they going? Two disciples. Okay, we know who we had. Jerusalem? Not quite. Not this time.
Yeah.
Disciples did go to Jerusalem a lot, but what was that? Emmaus.
Emmaus.
Okay, so we got two guys walking along. Then what happens?
He saw Jesus.
They saw Jesus. Did they recognize him?
No.
No. Okay, so we got two guys walking along. And all of a sudden Jesus shows up. When do they recognize that it's Jesus? You got it?
When he breaks the bread.
Breaks the bread. And what is that? What was he doing? There's maybe the sacramental word for this. We've been talking about it tonight. Okay, so what was the vocabulary word we wrote down? Yes. The Eucharist. So he's demonstrating the Eucharist again. He's sharing that his body present in the blood. Okay. Now, in the middle of page 94, you can see there are two lines. It says, imagine that you are one of the disciples walking to Emmaus here. Write two words that describe your feelings. So put yourself in their shoes. You're walking along. All of a sudden, third person joins your group. A little bit later on, when he breaks the bread, you realize it's Jesus. The person you thought was dead and gone is right there living next to you. Write down two words that describe your feelings when you're sitting there in that moment and you see Jesus break the bread and you recognize him. You've heard him explain the scriptures. You've heard him talk to you. Write down two words.
So you guys are walking to Dunkin' Donuts. You're just walking. You're with your friend, and all of a sudden this third person shows up. And you're like, all right, well, come along, walk with us. You don't know who this person is, but you thought, oh, it'll be nice. You can walk with us, no problem. And then we realize that it's Jesus. How do you feel?
Surprise.
Surprised is one word, okay.
That's a good one. I would definitely be surprised. If I was sitting down, I might fall off my chair.
What
Who
else?
else has a good word for us? Good reaction. Caroline?
Very joyful.
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 Very good. What we're going to do is we're going to read those last two paragraphs, and then we're going to make sure we have that original sheet we started with, because we've got one more vocabulary word we need to make sure we cover tonight. So you need a volunteer to read the first paragraph right under that section that we just wrote those two words. Go ahead.
In the Eucharist, the body and blood of Christ are actually present under the appearances of bread and wine. Jesus is really and truly present in the Eucharist. This is called the real presence.
Very good. And there's our last vocabulary word for the night, the real presence. So go ahead on that original sheet where you wrote down Eucharist and the definition, go ahead and add real presence. It's our second key word of the night. What does Jesus look like in the Eucharist? What does it look like? It's not a trick question.
Forgot.
Okay, if you're sitting in church and they're preparing the gifts, what do you see?
Bread.
Bread
And
and wine.
wine.
Okay, so the bread and wine is what we see. What we believe is there's the real presence, God. Very good. So Jesus is really and truly present in the Eucharist. So everybody should have that written down, both the key word and the definition, please.